surface of the sun. When it stirs, the very air around it burns. With the power to create and destroy, its beauty is literally striking. We can try to photograph it.
Did you see that one?
We can entice and capture it. We can fly through it. But we'll never be able to control or fully understand the mystery of lightning.
Walk on an August afternoon, blue sky over my head, just one distant thundercloud. I was with my dogs, and there was one peal of thunder, and I called my dogs to me because they're frightened of thunder. And I said, "Don't worry, you're all right as long as you're with me." And that's all I remember. I woke in a pool of blood. I didn't know what had happened to me. I thought I'd been shot in the back. I lay there for a long time, thinking I was going to die. I was in terrible pain. It was then that I realized I must have been hit by lightning. The storm came around and was just thundering all around me. And the only thing I could think of was that I'd swallowed fire.
Lightning kills at least 1,000 people every year. Each bolt lasts a fraction of a second. It can be up to 30 miles long, and it's less than an inch thick. It is hotter than the surface of the sun. You hear the shock wave 15 miles away as a clap of thunder.
The most common symbol in meteorology is a lightning discharge. It really is a dramatic event. It also represents one of the longest unsolved problems in classical physics. We still don't know fundamentally what causes lightning. It's still a meteorological mystery.
For 250 years, we have known that lightning is an electrical phenomenon. Despite centuries of research, scientists are still struggling to understand exactly how a lightning bolt begins, or why it takes one path through the air, not another. Only now are we beginning to realize the extent of lightning's effect across the entire planet. Severe thunderstorms occur mainly in a belt around the tropics and subtropics where heat and humidity are high. At any one time, there are almost 2,000 individual active thunderstorms on Earth. One prime spot is Florida. Running across the center of the state is Lightning Alley, a strip 60 miles wide with the highest incidence of lightning in the United States. People living here will see lightning on more than 90 days a year.
My one hope hinges on that cloud up there, and it looks pretty good. It's It's 7:45. The sun goes down about 8 o'clock, so I can shoot about 8:15. That gives me a half hour. And that cloud right there just looks like it might do us some good.
David Stillings lives in the middle of Lightning Alley. He calls himself the Lightning Stalker, and he hunts it with a camera.
On July 1st of 1976, I captured my very first streak of lightning, and it's called eruption because it seemed like it was erupting right out of that center pucker, and there was blue sky and purple clouds. I was hooked from that point on. But one of the other good ones I got, Halloween night, 1985. The streak of lightning is actually coming up off of a transmitting tower, and I couldn't believe it. I chased storms 4 times on Halloween night, and at 17 minutes after 11 o'clock, thank you. And one of my other good ones, for 1992, the best storm for 1992, capturing a bolt of lightning with the sunset, that's one thing, but capturing a bolt of lightning actually coming out of the cloud and into the sunset and down to the earth, that's so rare. What a great storm.
Nobody can predict where and when a thunderstorm will form, but it starts with the formation of a normal cloud. Earl Williams is a physicist who studies thunderstorms in New Mexico.
Behind us we have a mature thunderstorm. It's weakly electrified now, but it's gone through its mature phase. That cloud formed very early on from water vapor, which is the fuel for the thunderstorm. Water vapor accumulates by evaporation from plants, from evaporation from lakes and streams and surface water. That water vapor then rises in the atmosphere in thermals in the boundary layer, and then it condenses. And condensation is the first stage of cloud formation.
All clouds begin this way. Hot, wet air rises and condenses into droplets. If they become too heavy for the rising air to support, it falls as rain. If the updraft is powerful enough, it will pass the height where water condenses and continue upward, and the higher the air goes, the colder it gets. Separation of electric charge is what causes lightning. 5 miles high inside the cloud, ice particles begin to form in the rising column of air. They can grow into hailstones the size of a fist, and these hang suspended in the air. Smaller, lighter ice crystals also form and are blown on upwards, rubbing past the larger chunks. This rubbing creates the electric charge, negative on the large particles, positive on the small ones. The small ice crystals shoot on up to the edge of the stratosphere. They spray out sideways to form the characteristic anvil head of a mature thundercloud. They're 12 miles high and up to 15 across. The buildup of electric charge is awesome. Eventually, something has to give. Most lightning exists only inside the cloud, never touching ground at all. It lights the cloud from the inside, making sheet lightning. But sometimes it does leave the cloud. Every year in the United States, there are 40 million strikes to ground. Around 400 hit people, only half survive.
When you're hit by lightning, you develop this arborescent pattern across your chest and arms as if a fern had been implanted there. And the first doctor I went to noticed this, and so he knew I'd been struck by lightning. They kept me overnight at that hospital and then released me. And I suddenly had this terrible feeling that I was going to die, that I just wasn't going to make it through the night. And I'd lie there and think, how could such a thing have happened to me? I'm such a small thing, and the sky is so big.
most lightning doesn't happen where it's raining. Most lightning happens outside the rain, but there's usually rain between us and where the lightning is, but lightning doesn't like rain. That's just turned out to be the worst thing about trying to chase lightning is trying to get out of the rain. This is great. I'll tell you what, this year has been so bad because we haven't had any nighttime storms. But tonight, look at this, it's brewing. Oh yeah, it's here, and I'm excited.
Capturing anything of a lightning bolt is no mean feat. It appears at random in or around a vast cloud that could form anywhere, anytime. This is Mount Baldy in New Mexico. It's America's second lightning hotspot. Perched on the peak at 10,000 feet is the Langmuir Laboratory. Scientists gather at the lab every summer because here they know where the thunderstorms will fall. When the hot, wet summer wind meets the mountains, it's forced upwards and makes thunderclouds a virtual certainty. Researchers fire rockets, trailing a wire behind them up into the thundercloud to channel lightning bolts to hit the ground exactly where they want them to hit.
KQP 492, this is the Cupola Tower to West Knoll. Would you please keep us apprised on any launch preparations?
It's 1 John ground.
An electric field meter shows the charge on the mountain rising. Each time there's a lightning bolt, it drains some of the cloud's charge and the fields drop sharply. To trigger a strike, they must time the rocket launch perfectly. The aim is to fire when a natural lightning bolt is imminent and the electric fields are at their maximum. Research cameras capture every successful trigger on tape. Lightning will strike anything that stands high above the ground. Trees are a favorite target. Lightning runs through the tree's sap, instantly vaporizing it. A strip of bark can explode like wooden shrapnel and travel outward at lethal speeds. Even know what guides lightning's jagged path, or why it chooses to strike in one place rather than another. All we do know is that the path is first created by a trickle of electricity that rushes outward from a charged region high inside the cloud. It begins as a small spark inside the cloud 5 miles up. A spurt of electrons rushes outward, travels 100 meters, then stops and pools for a few millionths of a second. Then the stream lurches off in a different direction, pools again and again. Often the stream branches and splits. This is not a lightning bolt yet. It's called a stepped leader, an intensely charged channel leaping and branching down. As it gets close, its electric field begins to exert a pull on the ground.
When that stepped leader is within 10 or 100 meters of the ground is now aware of there being a big surplus of negative electricity, which has come down on a conductor. Certain objects on the Earth respond by launching little streamers up toward the stepped leader. Weakly luminous plasma filaments, which are trying to connect with what's coming down. If you happen to be standing there, maybe a streamer is going to leave your head and head toward that stepped leader. A telephone pole might launch a positive streamer. A blade of grass might launch a positive streamer up toward the stepped leader. It's that special one which makes the connection, which gives rise to the return stroke, and then this catastrophic 10,000 ampere current flows. That closes the switch.
When that connection is made, the electrons drain to Earth in a blinding bolt of light. The part of the channel nearest the ground will drain first, then successively higher parts, and finally the charge from the cloud itself. So the visible lightning bolt moves up from ground to cloud as the massive electric currents flow down. These positive streamers only exist for a minute fraction of a second. Photographs of them are extremely rare. Here, two streamers left the treetop, but only one of them successfully connected with the descending stepped leader. A nearby telephone pole also launched a positive streamer upward, a failed lightning bolt.
August 17th of 1985, I was photographing a storm at Lake Catherine near my home, and a bolt of lightning hit 3 feet from me in that storm and literally threw me away from my equipment. I landed on the ground about 15 feet away, and when I got back up and I ran over to get my equipment, I reached down to get my camera bag, and 3 feet the other side of my camera bag, there was a hole in the earth and it was still smoking.
When lightning enters the Earth, the electricity spreads outward in all directions and travels through the ground for hundreds of yards. It hit Jerry Hurd from 50 yards away through an umbrella he was sitting under.
Lee Trevino and myself, in I think it was 1975, were playing the 13th hole at the Chicago Butler National in a tournament. Lee hit first, I hit second. Then we were walking down the par 3, and a flash of lightning came over us. I remember Lee and I put our umbrellas over each other, so we were kind of sheltering the rain, light rain at the time. And the second flash of light, that was the one that hit us. Actually, I guess the bolt hit close to the water or near us, and we got hit where the umbrellas were touching us. It was crossing Lee in his back. It was touching my groin area, and that's where we got burnt and got hit. And I remember my hands were shut from the contraction of electricity.
Being caught anywhere in the open in a lightning storm can be dangerous, although there are ways to minimize the risk. There's only one place that's entirely safe, inside a metal box. This cage at the Boston Museum of Science is just that, a metal box with a lot of holes in it. It's called a Faraday cage. Metal has low electrical resistance, so the current flows through the metal rather than through whatever is inside. And we travel inside a giant Faraday cage each time we fly. The average airliner can expect to be hit once every year, despite the fact that pilots go to great lengths to avoid thunderstorms. Or rather, most pilots. In the 1980s, NASA flew a fighter plane right through the most violent thunderstorms. They wanted the plane to be hit as often as possible to learn exactly what happens during a plane strike. They were more successful than they'd ever hoped. The plane's metal body compressed the electric fields as it flew through them. Its presence triggered the thunderbolt.
Oh, good, Dallas. I heard 3 rumbles down the airplane. Down.
Just took a direct strike to the boom. Might have been 2 return strikes.
For decades, ordinary pilots have also reported seeing brief flashes in the sky above storms. Their reports were ignored. But perhaps they were true. This research footage was taken above the massive lightning storms of the American prairies. Scientists have nicknamed these flashes sprites. They're almost too faint to be visible and last a fraction of a second. They're 10 miles wide and reach over 50 miles straight up from the top of the storm. Nobody yet knows what they are or how the storm creates them. Their power and their effect on the atmosphere are still mysteries. But you need to go higher than a plane can fly before you can appreciate the real scale of lightning on Earth. Images from a low light level camera on the space shuttle show nighttime storms flickering across entire continents. But it's not just the Earth. There's evidence for lightning on other planets in the solar system too. On Jupiter, it's actually been photographed. This violent flash of light, 1,000 miles long, was caught by one of the Voyager probes as it passed. Perhaps there is lightning everywhere. We are only just beginning to realize how complicated lightning is. Despite years of research, we still don't understand the exact nature of this primeval force. Perhaps we owe it to our future to try to understand it better.
I was struck by lightning 3 years ago, and I'm still, I think, in the process of recovery. My life changed completely after I was struck. Everything I was, everything that I did was taken away, stripped away. And in a way, I still find lightning storms fabulously beautiful. I can't stop going out into storms. And even though I stand there and wonder how it ever entered me, I just love to watch them. I think I always will.
Got it! Boy! Man, did you see that one?